Okay, we're recording it. Okay, recording is going. All right. So Joe, you want to open it up as far as when we went? Yeah. Okay, as everybody I think is aware that we did a field study off the coast of Long Island. It was a barrier island out there called Robert Moses State Park, and it's the southernmost end of Long Island. It's a pretty isolated, so that was why we picked the spot. Yeah, and it's the furthest point on the island, that stretches out into the Atlantic. Yeah. It's at a a southeasterly direction. We're almost about 40 miles from the Deepwater Trench. And we've had we've heard about other sightings and so forth that have been seen by people on boats, ships, that sort of thing, that was, pretty localized to the island. Of course, Long Island has a rich history of these sightings too. I don't know if you guys are aware of there was the South Haven Park incident, which is dating back, I think it was early 90s, I think. Early 90s. Yeah. And supposedly there was an object that came down and severed tree limbs going into a park area of Long Island at the South Haven State Park. South Haven State Park, not too far from Brookhaven National Laboratory. And we chose this area also because the pilots were seeing a lot of these objects off the coast. Like Ryan Graves said, he was seeing it every day for 2 years, I think. So we decided that Long Island would be a perfect spot because it actually sits in that coastal waterway, in that corridor. Yeah. If you're looking out, the island stretches out from the mainland, and from where we are from the city limits, that's the main coast, New Jersey shore, that sort of thing. We're about 50 miles out from that point. So looking southerly, in the direction of where these sightings took place, Whiskey 72, I believe they called it. Which is their flight area, their training area. We're probably within line of that training area if you're looking south, down to the Virginia coast. All right, so this was we're part of the affiliates for the Galileo project. We did our own research. This was a 10-month study off coastal Long Island. It started in July of last year. And we used a mobile laboratory made out of an RV, which has two different types of radar: vertical, horizontal scanning radar, Y and X field. We have a number of spectrum analyzers on the RV. We have quite a few infrared type cameras, night vision cameras. We have some of the cameras that go into the shortwave, the SWIRE band of the infrared. And a lot of the stuff that we've been seeing early on were orb-like objects. They look like polyhedrons possibly inside some kind of a sphere. And this is something we saw early on. When we measured the distance from these objects, we basically calculated the size of them as well, using field of view. And the objects look like they're between anywhere between 2 and 4 meters in diameter. So they're relatively small, but they seem to be always out there, very low over the horizon, pretty much close to the surface of the water. I would say probably within about 600 meters from the water surface. We've kind of isolated these objects from star constellations and that sort of thing with star maps that we have. So Stellarium is one of them. And, you could see the constellation patterns changing. But of course, these objects would stay either stationary in that position or they would move, and sometimes move very quickly. But we've been seeing these things on a regular basis out there. In August of last year, August 27th to be exact, where we went down there. We set up operations off that coast. It was about 11 o'clock at night. 11 o'clock at night. There was
what we call different cuts to get down to the beach, and the beach is about 200 meters from the parking area. So you could literally walk down these paths, and you're right at the the ocean, the cresting of the water on the surface of the ocean there, the beach there. So we would get down there. This was we called it cut two. There's four different cuts, and we saw within about
Well, we got there 11 o'clock. It took us about an hour to set up. By 12 o'clock, we had all our equipment set up and get running. We hadn't yet set up the radar, but at a little after 12, we noticed that there were three lights hovering near the shoreline, and we could only see with infrared cameras. We couldn't see it visibly.
nothing visible. We had four people with us all together, and nobody could see with their eyeballs. There was no visible light at all. It wasn't making any sound. Very quiet. But in the infrared spectrum, we have two camera views. One is a Cyanix, which has a wavelength of between 400 and 1064 nanometers. The other camera we used was a Lunar Optics, and that has a wavelength of between 400 and almost 1200 nanometers. So it goes a little bit deeper into that infrared and touches upon the SWIR part of it, the SWIR shortwave infrared. The Lunar Optics, which has the higher wavelength, we were able to see these objects clearer, brighter, indicating to us that this object was probably had a spectral range of anywhere between, I'd say, 1050 to possibly up to 1400 nanometers at that point. So we were able to see it very clearly. Gerald and I walked down to the water's edge to get a better look at this object.
And when we say object, we saw three lights, three spherical lights, and we're not sure if it was one object because they look fixed in fixed positions, or if it was three separate objects.
Yeah, separate pinpoints.
And actually, it was in the shape of a scalene triangle.
Yes,
with two lights off to the left and one light off to the right.
Right. So we had walked down to the water's edge, and we had a wind gust down there up to 30 miles per hour, pretty strong wind gusts, and this object stayed very stationary, very stable, no movement at all, very, very stable, no sound, didn't utter a sound. We were literally the object we estimated to be about 250 feet from the ocean surface and about 1,000 feet out from where we were standing, and didn't utter a sound. And again, there was no indication that there was any visible light that we could see off this object. Through the night vision scopes, we were able to see it very clearly. It was like I said, it was stationary, very stable, didn't move, maintained the same pattern, that triangular pattern. But there seemed to be some rotation to these three objects. They seemed to be rotating independently, So within a short period of time, we were trying to do, we were trying to get measurements to determine its altitude, its distance from us. We used LiDAR to do that, and we were using an infrared illuminator beam, which is rectangular, and we flashed the object several times to see if we can get any more detail. If we could see it, we could see the reflection from the objects. So the infrared beam was hitting them. We could clearly see the reflection from them, and we could see that they were basically, there was the small orbs of light out there. And we also noticed that there were several other objects that were moving from our perspective from right to left, away from the object, but closer to the shore than the triangle itself.
Well, that came after what happened to us.
Yeah, and this was it became much more vivid to us. These objects were brighter. And obviously they were they were closer than the triangle. When we hit this triangle with the illuminator, Um, and I'd say there was 5 times we hit it all
There
together.
was several times. I
Yeah,
don't remember the
on
exact count, yeah.
I believe it was the 5th time we hit it with the illuminator. Well, I noticed in my camera a rectangular beam of light that moved very quickly to the shoreline. And it wasn't a steady, continuous beam. It would flash in, and every time it flashed in, it was a lot closer. And it moved up to the shoreline, I'd say in less than 2 seconds. It would move very quickly.
Yeah, it was on top of us very
It was on top of us. The last visual that I had inside the night vision camera was an intense beam of light that filled the complete frame of video. It was completely filled. And at that point, I said to my brother that, we really didn't know what this was, and it was kind of shocking. It was a little, it was a little scary, So we had
At this point also John's camera had started becoming intermittent and started shutting down. It wasn't operating properly. My camera, I had picked up a blue orb of light under the water that was flashing. It was there and it wasn't there, but it moved towards the shoreline. And then my camera was becoming intermittent as well. From that point, like I said, it reached the shoreline. We kind of panicked. Started to said that we need to run, so we started running. I started to follow him, and what happened next is collapsed in the sand.
Yeah. So I know I turned to my left to basically back off the shore, get away from the water, the ocean, where the waves were crashing up on the shore. And as I turned to my left, I lost control of my legs. I had extreme weakness in my legs. I fell to the sand, and I couldn't manipulate my legs under me to get myself back up. And my brother had called out to me, and I said, I can't move. I can't get up.
And this is actually filmed in the video.
And this is in the video. You'll see this in the video.
Shortly after I went to help John try to pull him back up, as John was trying to get back up, I started to move back towards the RV, and then my legs collapsed. I had no strength in my legs. It was almost like a kind of like a flaccid paralysis, I guess.
Yeah, and it didn't last very long. It was, I would say, it was under a minute.
Yeah,
it was under a minute, but within that period of time, for us, it felt like forever. I mean, you're trying to get your legs to manipulate, to get it under you to pick yourself up, and there was just no strength to do that.
Yeah, and there was so much happening all at once. I mean, you don't have time to really, access it or kind of assess it. I had turned around with the camera to see where this thing was, this light that was sort of heading towards the shoreline, and I caught a wave of light that was heading towards us on the beach. That's when my camera went out, and of course that's when I collapsed. John's camera was running intermittently, but there was he was having a bunch of it looked like to us electromagnetic interference.
Some kind of electromagnetic
interference
with
both pieces of both cameras. This camera, the optics was affected. It looked like there was something, a ball of light that had gotten into the optics, and we didn't notice at that time. But later on, we looked at the video. It's still recording. It recorded a sphere of light in the optics, and it looked like it was manipulating the camera, like it was shutting circuits on and off, switches on and off. And you hear clicks, and you'll see this like a light show inside the camera.
Yeah, the menu settings would change and so forth. But like I said, you saw these flashes of light that were taking place in the camera. And when I was on the ground, the camera wasn't moving. It was literally out of my hands at that point. But you could see these flashes of light all around. And just want to say that the recording prior to that, where I could see this rectangular beam of light. It almost looked like a chevron pattern of some sort, moving very closely, moving very quickly toward the shore. That was not recorded at all. I could see that in the camera, but that was while the camera was recording, that recording was simply not there. The camera had shut down during that period of time, and it basically started up again. intermittently as we made our way back to the shore. Camera stayed on a little bit longer, and we were able to see that chevron pattern in his camera.
Yeah, just before
You
it
know,
collapsed.
and it was only in maybe 2 or 3 frames worth of video. And the frame rate on the camera is 60 frames per second. So we can only see it in 2 or 3 frames. If you like, we can show you those videos, and
Please do.
might make a little more sense. Let's see.
Do you have the share screen function?
Yes. Yeah, I see it here. Okay. Let's do this. All right, that's the Lunar Optics and yours. Yeah.
See, look at the wave break. I see the wave spread. I know.
All right. Let's see. We'll do this, and we'll share the screen, and I'll share it with the audio too. It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Let me get it here. Does that work for you?
Let's give it a shot. Yep, that's working. Okay. All right. So I'm going to share the sound so you can hear everything that's being said. And let's go. Let's see. You guys can see that?
Yes.
Okay. So now this is with the next. I'm sorry. This is with the Cynex camera, the Cynex Black. Now you're going to see this. It's the screen is much noisier. Now it looks like there's color confetti out there, and this noise issue got worse as we moved closer to the shore. We're not quite sure why, whether or not it was some kind of an electromagnetic interference in the camera, or something else, maybe an ionizing type radiation that was causing it. But the screen got noisier, and the noise in the audio was equally as bad as we got close to the shore. All right,
I'm gonna point out maybe.
Yeah. So this, if you look over here, can you see my mouse? The movement of the mouse?
No.
Okay. Maybe let me stop playing. Maybe I can point it out. You'll see two pinpoints of light in the front, and you'll see that unfortunately you can't see the third because his camera just didn't have the detail.
Yeah, you'll see it's a too dull or too fuzzy points of light. The one on the left is a little larger because it's 2 objects, but my camera didn't have enough resolution to see the 2 objects. But you'll notice it.
Yeah, and you'll see it clearly in the other camera.
And you'll see that it's hovering above the ocean. You'll see the shoreline, and see the waves crashing on the shoreline, and this object's hovering above the ocean near the shoreline.
All right.
I can see. Look at the wave break. I can see the waves break.
I know. They're flashing now.
They're right over the ocean. We got a good one. Where's the rangefinder? Can we
Oh, yeah, that's right.
we could try to
You know what?
try to triangulate.
Here you go. I've zoomed yours in. It's recording. Let me get that. Let me see if I can hit them with the,
We'll hit them with a
let's see. Now, let me see if I can find them again.
Wow, why is this so clear?
Yours is really clear. I could barely make out what shoot.
You know, we need the UVC detector.
Wait a minute. Oh, you aiming at them?
Yeah.
Oh, they're right above the ocean. Oh, they may be on the ocean. Yours I can see very clearly. You can see that they're separate. Wow. All right, so you got these a rangefinder aimed at them. They're right above the ocean.
They're doing something now.
Look, are they separating?
They're getting closer together.
Yeah, I see it.
You're still recording now.
I'm recording.
I'm recording. Oh, they're closer, Joe.
They're right above the ocean, though, right?
They're closer. I just zoomed in. They're getting closer to us.
All right, let's see. Maybe we should get at least walk closer.
You'll notice that we get closer to the line.
No, I can't see them with my eyes.
Video
Only through the IR.
I can't see them. They're invisible. I wouldn't be surprised if they're over the water.
I don't think they're that far out.
Nope.
They're just over the ocean.
Right over the water. And they're invisible to the naked eye.
Wow. Let's see, can we get any closer? No, they're completely invisible. I can't see them without the IR.
They are literally right out in front of us.
And you still see the three?
Three.
Yeah, see mine. I can't. I can see one to the left. They're too close together, merged. But I see the pulsating or the strobing pattern. No, it's still there. Yeah, they're right over the ocean. Let me see. Let me go closer. So we got three objects out there. It is August 27th. It is 12:12 a.m. or August 28th. It is early Sunday. And we have three objects. The two on the left are, in my camera, they're so close together, almost like merged. But there's actually three. Two to the left, one to the right. My right. And they're just above the ocean.
They're just above the
12:13 a.m. looks like. And they're stationary.
They're right above the water, Joe.
And right above the water.
Are they three objects or are they one?
It's oh, you wouldn't mean like a triangle?
Yeah.
I don't know. It could be one large object, a triangle.
They cannot be seen with the naked eye.
No, they're completely invisible with the naked with the.
I'm going to turn on the IR.
All right, John's lighting them up.
Watching that.
Let's see. See if they got their attention. Fascinating. These things are hovering just over the ocean. It's either three objects or one.
Yeah, directly over the ocean. You know what? They are literally.
Yeah.
See.
I mean, they're very close to the surface. Let's see, I can walk a little further out there. Alright, so I'm right at the beach edge here. these objects are just hovering over the ocean, over the Atlantic Ocean south. Do we know what the azimuth is? I forgot my digital.
The waves, they are literally right above the waves. Because I'm reflecting that off the water.
Yeah,
You see the water?
yeah.
They are right out.
I see it. Where's that come from, John?
Up close. Right here. Go back up. Back up.
Go, go!
Can't. You're right. Can't.
What?
I can't.
I don't see it, John.
It's down there.
I don't know if you guys saw that chevron pattern. I'm gonna try to stop that frame.
Yeah, it was a wave of light.
There it is.
Now this is infrared light. It was invisible to the eyes.
Yeah, and this chevron pattern of light actually expanded. We actually have a tracker software that we can look at this frame by frame. There's about 3 frames in there, and you'll see this light grow very quickly, vertically and horizontally.
And as it grows, you'll see it's made of layers. It has ripples in it.
And that's the last piece of video you have from your camera.
Yeah, my camera
Until you
shut
got
down.
back.
My camera shut down at that point.
And now I'll show you perspective from the other camera.
Now, this is we're both laying on the beach trying to get up. There's other objects out there that as we were going back on the video, we were noticing more orbs and other objects out there. There was quite a few things out there.
And there were some objects on the right that would actually they were coming down towards us.
At the time, we were overwhelmed. We had to look at the video again to see that there was a lot more going on than we originally realized.
All right, so let's grab the other video.
Let's see. I'm just gonna find it. I think you labeled it, didn't you?
Yeah, there's so many videos here. This is lunar optics.
That's
Okay,
okay.
all right. So let me start this.
And you'll notice the video, of course, is recording where collapsed. So we actually got 2 cameras catching what struggling to get up and saying you can't get up. So it's on both cameras, and then you'll see that the whatever this thing is, it gets in the optics of his camera.
Can you guys see that dark screen? The with the crosshairs in the middle.
Yes.
Yes. All right, this is from the lunar optics.
And this has a higher resolution.
I can't. I can't. What? Can't. It's down there. Come on. That was
Now this is all occurring inside the camera in the optics. And you hear the click of the electronics being manipulated.
Right there. No!
And that noise heard was leaf falling.
No!
And I'm yelling now for one of our assistants, who's a registered nurse.
It's right here.
So it was quite overwhelming.
Now we got a couple of other videos of us going. One was prior to the incident, and then the other one is after the incident, and you can clearly see the triangular formation. And
Yeah, at this point we had recovered. Like says the effects, the weakness lasted maybe about a minute. We were able to finally get back up, head towards the RV. We didn't see the light anymore, but we alerted the two research assistants that were at the RV where it was parked at the shoreline, and we got other cameras. They got their cameras, and we went back out to the beach.
so now we had 3 night vision cameras, all verifying the same object that was out there. No, we asked the other members if they could see anything that was the same response. Nobody could see anything with their visible eyes. There was no sound, but the object was out there for almost 45 minutes and never moved, and it was stationary 45 minutes. And then suddenly it was just gone.
And what was interesting is at the 40-minute time period, we had noticed that there were two tiny bright things on the sand. They were really bright, but they were only we could only see them in the infrared. We couldn't see them visibly. And our attention was drawn to those two bright objects on the sand. It was on the sand where we had our contact with this whatever it was.
Within about 5 feet.
Yeah, it was within that 5-foot range. And so we focused on this. We recovered the two objects that were glowing, and we had brought it back to when we recovered it and put it in a specimen container. We looked back up, and none of us saw the triangle anymore. It was gone. So we ended up going back to the RV, and we have a little lab in there. And with a microscope, I had examined it under a microscope. These two objects. We used a Geiger count, see if it was radioactive. There was no radioactivity. There were two desiccated under the microscope. There were two desiccated crustaceans. One was a krill and one was a shrimp. They were small. And it looks like they had an opening in the thorax. For some reason, it was a wide opening in the thorax of both specimens. And what was interesting is they were glowing in the infrared for quite a while. And it wasn't bioluminescence. Bioluminescence is between 400 nanometers to 450 nanometers to 570 nanometers, I think. That's typical bioluminescence of microorganisms in the sea. This was under that. It was in the infrared. And of course, it was in the infrared range that we could see.
And it was illuminated at it looked like the same spectral response
As the object.
that we were visualizing through the night vision cameras. Through the one night vision, which has got a limited IR range to 1064, you could see it, not quite as bright.
Yeah,
So with the lunar optics, that goes up to 1200 nanometers, the object was much brighter. You could see the detail in the light.
So they were fluorescing this infrared energy at between 1064 and 1200 nanometers. At least that's based on our equipment.
Yeah, and what we had, yes, at the time.
Question.
And
Question.
Sure.
Your assistants, did they experience anything when this happened?
no, they had when we had the encounter on the beach, they were still at the RV monitoring the equipment
Couple hundred.
And they
yards
weren't
away.
until I yelled that we needed help.
Right. And one other thing too is the very next day, I think the two of us experienced the same, almost like an inflammation or a
well, we had like just 10 glands like in the neck area. It was 10 lymph nodes in neck area.
and under the armpits.
Yeah,
you know.
me was just the neck area, and then John's was under the armpits. We also both had fatigue for quite a few hours.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let me share another video. With
So our thought is with these two crustaceans we found is, our thought is that maybe this orb came ashore and charged up these microorganisms, charged up these two organisms with infrared energy, or maybe they were attached to it when it was going under the water. They adhered to it some way, and it deposited them on the shoreline.
You said they were desiccated.
Yes, they looked like they were kind of dried out. They had a large opening, and both of them had a large opening in their thorax.
Okay.
And they looked like they were dead for a while, but it's interesting. It's just, as we can't explain where the infrared glow came from.
Yeah, it was pretty intense because we could see these things are very small. They're
They were,
tiny.
and they were bright.
And I mean, it's like somebody had a flashlight shined in our direction. That's how bright they were.
Yeah, they were bright.
It was they were intense. We noticed them right away.
I think we have a video of that. We haven't. We got to dig it out. I think we do have a video clip of that.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to dig it out.
Yeah, and I would say within an hour, it just
within an hour, a couple of hours, the infrared energy started to dissipate.
Yeah.
So it looked like they were charged.
Also, I noticed that prior to this thing, the light, you guys noticing the light in the water,
Mhm.
and you had painted the target with IR,
Mhm.
the pattern interference seemed to fall off for a few seconds in there, for 15 seconds or so, I'm guessing.
Right. Yes.
Were you changing mode on the camera, or was that environmental?
No. That was I think that was more of an environmental factor. Maybe when we hit it with light, the intensity of that noise, the electromagnetics kind of minimized for a period of time.
Interesting.
I'm not sure if it was a response from the IR energy that we were shooting back.
Okay.
Let's see.
All right, so we got a video of us going back. Of course, we collected ourselves and got the guts to go back to the shoreline. Got two of our assistants, and as this object was still out there, we wanted to get as much video as possible.
Yeah.
So we brought them out with their IR cameras. And there was the third IR camera that one of our researchers was carrying, was acted intermittently. So that was actually 3 cameras that were affected.
Yeah, she couldn't get it to work most of the
time.
I think it was a total failure.
At some point it was failure.
It was a total failure.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me just share the screen.
And John will explain what you're seeing on the screen. Of course, now you'll see a much greater resolution of these objects.
Okay, so this is with the lunar optics, and this is prior to that encounter. Where the cameras had shut down. This is a video just prior to that.
I'm gonna try changing. All right, the water. Wait a minute. I'm looking at the waves. They are literally right above the waves. Because I'm reflecting right off the water. You see the water? They are right out there.
I apologize for the shaking video. The wind was gusts of wind were pretty strong. Okay, so now there's another video. Now this is after the encounter. This is when the 4 of us went right back down and to investigate it a little bit further. And you'll hear the other members, their voices as well with us.
They sent
They sent, you know what they did?
We mean you can't see.
They wanted me to see it. Oh, I see them now.
All right. So let me see.
Here, Donna, take a look through this one. Look, you'll see the three objects, two on the left are close together.
What's going on?
Right over the ocean, you see?
Yes, that's what I see two.
Wait, look.
Two are one's above the other one.
Right.
I see two on this. I don't see
Right.
the third one, but I just see it without those
The
lists.
third one is, no, you see,
There's two, one above is above the other.
Right,
There's
two-
one, there's one to the right.
right, that's it. You-
But how come I don't only see two of these? All
They're-
these lists and stuff.
They're hovering above the ocean.
Sue, you can only see it with your IR.
With the
Yeah, look at them. You see them?
with the infrared on my goggles, I only see two. I don't see the other one. But I do see.
I hope to God we videotape that thing coming towards
Oh, I
us.
hope so too.
Oh my God.
There's gotta be something. You have to check that right away.
We just had a close encounter.
It's recording now.
Wow.
Oh, come on, come on. There it's recording.
You're right. These objects are short. Now let's go out there
All
again.
right, let's see if they sent another drone towards us.
Is that physical? I don't know if that was physical.
I don't know if it was physical. What?
Did you see something? No, it's gone.
Yeah, and I apologize for the shaking. One of our assistants had my camera at this point.
I don't know if you
I
can see
don't
this, but
believe it, Sue.
if you look to the left of that triangle, there's a small object that's
Yeah, shut
every
that
now and
down.
then you'll see it. It's a very tiny,
What they
tiny
did is they
orb
came
of
right
light
up to us.
that's off to the. It's adjacent to the two lights on the left
It
hand.
was a light that was coming over that came down from the three craft and it followed us.
Let me go back. Let me scan back up there. You might see it.
I know, we ran like a bunch of pussies.
And you have to excuse the language.
Now I don't, there's nothing out there. What is going on? Let me see. Oh, no, there they are. There they are, they're still there.
I see them.
That was fucking unbelievable. They're invisible. You can't see with your naked eye. They are completely invisible.
Yeah, I can't see them.
They're out there. All right, ready from the sign. Oh my God, my leg's killing me. There they are. They're right over the water.
Yeah. But can you tell the shape?
It looks like a triangle. You can't see it. Look, it's invisible to the eyes.
No, I lost them again.
They're there. Clear as can be. Let me zoom in. I got 6 times.
I see.
I see them. Again.
Something's flashing up and down. We're very rapid. To the right of those orbs.
Yeah. So one of our
All right, it may be coming out again.
one of our assistants just to realize that she sees something that was coming down from the sky and was to the right of these 3 objects and actually moved underneath them.
And you'll see it in the video where there's an object, there's an orb that moves underneath them. And at one point, when it moves in front of these 3 objects and where it's between us and that triangle, it moves a little bit closer to us and then backs off and then continues to go to the left field of view.
Which is east.
Yeah, it
It's,
goes
south-
towards the
southeast,
east.
yeah.
Yeah, it moves from west to east.
Aircraft doesn't move like that.
And you can see if you can see it off to the left.
Can you tell?
Right, stop there.
It's hard to see.
And you'll see it's an
I'm
intermittent.
looking at the water.
There's an intermittent
put-
light that's off the left side of the triangle.
All right, let me. Yeah, it looks like they are approaching.
All right, here's the other object to come in.
All right, so you'll see one to the right. That's the one that came down from the sky and now is moving to the left. And then there was another object just past the two orbs on the left. You'll see that as well. The object that is moving from right to left of the field of view there is it's actually was closer to us, but it moved inland a little bit and then it backed off.
All right, there's another one joining them, Gerald. It looks like a cube.
What if they're not both flashing with their
It's a cube.
one after the other, so it looks like, so instead of,
And we noticed when we took this video back with us and we enhanced it and we
There it
enlarged
is.
it, the object looked like it was a binary object. It looked like it was a pair of objects. They were fixed
Yeah.
together.
And the other thing we noticed with these objects is that there seems to be one luminous side, and it's in rotation.
Yeah.
Some kind of a multi-surfaced object like a polyhedron of some sort. But we also noticed something else is that when we enhanced the video, the images, and we got a couple of stills from it, we could see there's some kind of a almost like a dome enclosure around this polyhedron. It looked like there was something was diffusing the light around it,
Mm-hmm.
and it looked like a dome of some sort. I'm not sure if that's, it's sort of sounded like what the Navy pilots were describing. This was Ryan Graves, I guess,
On the East Coast.
on
yeah.
the East Coast. And but this is what we saw, this pattern of lights, over this 10-month period. Where we got, some of the footage was a little bit better. They would always stay out of almost out of view at a certain range from us. There was never anything that moved very close, other than the encounter that we had. There was a couple of times that we had gone down there late at night. We would do a survey at 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and there's an area of the beach called Democrat Point, and we'd see these objects almost like there was multiples of these objects, almost like they were perching on the sand.
Yeah, I think we showed Ted that we actually have one of those objects actually shining a light down on the grass below it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you could see that reflection.
Yeah, it's a cube. It's a cube. The one on the right. The one in the center is not. It could be a large. It could be a large ship.
a large ship?
A large ship.
Wait, now you're talking about the ones on the water?
It's not. It's just above the water.
Okay, you're not talking about the flashing ones, because there's only one flashing. There's only one flashing now.
Yes, that's the cube.
Oh, no, there's two.
Where? Oh, Joel, it's sitting on the water. It's sitting on the water.
And you'll
It's
notice
sitting
that
on the water. It's coming this way.
at some point it looked like it went under the water, and then it came back up above.
Here it is. It's coming this way. It's getting closer. It's right in front of us. It's right in front of us. Yeah, it's on the water. It's sitting on the water.
Will you please come ashore and come visit us again here right in the sand?
You know what it is? It's Sue's light is maybe drawing it in. It disappeared. It's under the water. It's under the water. Oh, there it is. It's in front. It's right in front of it. It's on the water. All right. It's on the water. Let me see if I can hit it with a.
What's making that big flash?
There it is. You see it, guys?
And you can see these things are
There
actually.
it is. I'm bouncing off it.
See, these things are actually reflecting the IR light.
This is not IR though. This is visible. This is
Visible light. Yeah, the visible beam. Yeah, it's an intense beam, but it looks like they have a reflected surface.
Yeah, you can see that. Where there's, they'll basically as they
Here it
rotate.
comes, here it
they'll
comes.
disappear.
You actually saw a pair there with the light.
Yeah.
See if you get it closer. I mean, we'll get a surface features.
Yeah. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. It's right here.
All right,
You're not
stay
gonna run
still.
away this time, right?
Stay still when I'm running.
I don't see it anymore.
It's on the surface of the water.
But I don't see it coming, approaching us anymore.
Here it comes. It's coming.
keep filming it, John. I can't see this freaking thing.
And it's to the right of it. I don't know if you caught a glimpse of it. There's actually
Now it's to the left of the
that
object,
ship.
and
That ship is further out. That ship's
making
almost,
its way to
it's almost
shore.
4 miles out.
it's getting brighter.
I keep filming. I want to get a close up.
All right, I'm gonna. All right, there it is. All right, I'm zooming in.
Is it two lights you're looking at?
Well, so you see two lights, right?
Yeah.
That light on the left, you see one or two lights, one above another, next to the one on the right. So there's really three, but just like me, my camera only shows those two. But on Jerry's camera, Jerry's camera,
There it is. There it is. All right, I'm gonna light it up. I'm gonna light it up.
I saw.
All right, make sure you're getting a nice video of that.
I'm lighting it up.
Let's get a close up.
But right now,
I see a third one over on the left.
Let's get a close
oh,
up.
oh my God!
Can you see it?
It's
See it?
moving again, and how can I see it only in the light?
I got it, Gerald.
All right, let's get a close up.
Who is
And
shining?
every now and then you'll see it's
Me.
a pair.
You got
It looks like a pair of
I
objects.
see.
No,
the
now
little
it's not
flash.
flashing. It's shining directly at
I
us.
see one coming closer, and then there's two in the background.
All right, just keep filming it.
I'm on record.
See now? See where he's shining his beam?
Yeah.
That should be on the orb that's coming closer. It's way closer. It's way away from the other two. Actually, are there two over there now, or is still three? And this is the fourth one coming closer.
Do you see my scope in my scope?
Oh, I do. Yeah.
It's on the water.
Oh, that one that was coming closer is. I don't see it anymore.
It's on the water surface. It's sitting right on the water. Wait a minute. I light it up again.
I see the two little ones.
It's underwater. It's underwater.
Looks like I'm doing a little dolphin thing.
It's on. Oh, there it is. It's back out.
Beautiful. Keep filming.
It's on.
It's a wave skiing, right?
I
Right
just-
cap. I was like, oh, that's it coming to shore.
I just hope it comes in close.
Come right up to us.
Oh yeah, there on the left again.
So
yeah.
do you think that thing was on my foot?
It looked like it was on your foot, but I can't.
And it didn't do anything. It had no behavioral change that you saw.
No, it was what John said, it was circling around us. It was just like observing us. So, I don't know,
blinking.
almost like a surveillance system.
And it wasn't like pulsating or anything?
No, it was just this was just a orb.
As if something was
It's sitting right on the water.
Exactly.
Sitting right on the water.
Is it still moving?
Okay.
Yep.
Hmm.
So that's our encounter.
That's our encounter.
Okay. You know, sometimes when it went out of sight, I was thinking that it was just being obstructed by the swell. I spent a lot
You
of
know,
time in the
it's-
ocean.
You know,
It's possible.
it could have been. It was at a much higher altitude, and then it slowly made its way down toward the water surface. So it could have been
Yeah,
moving
but when it
between.
started off the right, it was at a higher altitude. It really kind of
Yeah, and then
dropped off a
ultimately
little
it
bit.
could have been moving
Yeah.
between swells. That's possible. Yeah.
Sure. Just in the trough, you know, when it,
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right.
But we know when we slow those videos down and we look at them, you take some time to look at it. There's a lot more spherical objects in there that are luminous that pop in. One to the right, there's no one to the left.
Yeah. Even during the
Yeah.
encounter, when you
During
go,
the encounter was
when-
several more.
when we break the frames down frame by frame, you'll see these objects that are there, and the next frame they'll be gone. You'll see quite a few of them, you know, and you know, we kind of wonder whether or not, you know, maybe that was the structure of the beam of light. We're not even sure. It just seemed like, you know, there was a lot of motion coming into frame during that brief period of time.
Well, the objects that were in there were self-luminescent.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
self-luminescent,
Mhm.
especially
like-
the one to the right.
I did see something further to the, I guess I'm not sure if we're looking at a mirror image or not, but from my perspective, to the left and at the horizon line, there was another small
Yes.
pinpoint.
Yep.
Seemed right on the water.
Yes.
Yeah, they were almost like converging in from both sides.
And that's typically what we saw when we were out there. We see some of these objects actually touch down on the water and they would sit on the surface of the water or sit just above the surface of the water. In fact, we have a video of one that actually was sitting maybe several feet above the water and it was actually shining it has a reflection of light on the water surface.
Yeah, and the light itself, but it was like a starburst pattern.
Yeah, it was like a rotating starburst.
Interesting.
How fast in nautical miles do you think it was traveling?
Some of these objects, most of the objects that we've seen were slow moving,
There was slow to stationary.
Yeah. And we do have videos of very fast moving objects. I couldn't tell you what the speed was. I mean, what we'd see is a flash of light and we'd be caught in maybe 3 or 4 frames of video. And you could see a very bright objects moving, along the surface of the ocean.
And those things look like they're moving maybe at a hypersonic rate.
And the other interesting thing is that on the long wave infrared, the thermal imager, we don't see these objects on the thermal imager. There's no long wave radiation as far as we can see. They even the object that was out on the water that was casting a reflection, we have a thermal imager that has a resolution of 640 by 512
And has a zoom capability.
and has zoom capability of optical zoom of almost 30 times. And even with the optical zoom, we could not see anything in that field of view that had its heat signature. And or it somehow it masked its heat signature to match the environment.
The environmental temperature. And that's interesting because everything should have a heat signature. I mean, if it's going to show you planes, I mean, we'll see the silhouette of a plane. You can't mask that signature.
Yeah, I mean,
unless something's deliberately has some kind of signature management on its own.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's no differential between one temperature and the other. It's just not there.
Yeah,
almost like it's like I said, it's matching the environment, the ambient temperature.
The efficiency of systems like cars and other things allows for heat to be given off or sound to come off, this kind of stuff, and the efficiency in these things seems very high.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's and I don't think we have any. Through the whole 10 months, I don't think we have anything on the long wave thermal. Nothing on the long wave thermal.
Ruben?
Yeah, just real quickly, gentlemen, have you continued with your field research? And if so, have you changed any of your procedures?
We're actually just starting to do a phase 2, where we're going to look at more of the coast of Long Island. We're going to go to the east end of Long Island. We have some people who said they have seeing objects out there. So we want to cover the entire coast and maybe inland Long Island, especially near Brookhaven National Laboratory, because it seems like these things might be attracted to nuclear facilities and things.
Right. And the other thing, as far as the equipment, the payload on the equipment, what we've done is we've taken the various different cameras, planetary cameras. We've taken Swire cameras that have very, very high range infrared. As a matter of fact, where we just ordered another camera. It's an expensive. It's a $15,000 camera, and it goes into the Swire band. It's from 400 to almost 2,500 nanometers, and we're adapting that. We want to adapt that to our payload system, and we want all our cameras to record the same focal point at the same time. So we'll be able to look at every camera and see what kind of a visual we got on these objects and what kind of a spectral range they might be in to determine that.
The other thing we're using is LiDAR.
We're using LiDAR. The other thing, we started using LiDAR, and I've been able to bounce an infrared beam off these objects and get a reflection.
Wow.
So, and not only a reflection, we also get glare on the night vision cameras on the lens surface. We'll see the glare of these things bouncing off this object. But it's again, there seems to be one reflective side on these polyhedrons, I guess you'd call it, because it's in rotation. You'll see just for a brief period, you'll see that reflection come back with some degree of motion, and it looks like it's a flat surface, something that's either luminescent or it's illuminating. It's maybe from an external source.
What's interesting is we had mentioned to Ted also that we have 2 radar systems and that we can scan in two different geometries.
Yeah.
So we're actually able to get hits off these objects, get reflections, but they're intermittent.
Yeah, and we've tuned the radars to do that. These are X-band radars. They're narrow wave. The beam itself is we set it up for what they call rain clutter. So we can actually see, if we were looking at a storm system, we could see the moisture in the cloud layers with this radar. So once we did that, we started to get better returns. They're intermittent, there's still intermittent returns, but we get better returns from these objects. And you know, once we do a scan, we moved up to the shore. After a period of time, we'll see these objects. You'll see in one complete sweep, the object will be there. The next sweep, it'll be gone. Another sweep, it'll be there. Next sweep, it'll be gone.
And we think we're doing a better job catching objects because we can, by using 2 radars, we get a better profile. of
Right,
these
because
objects.
one radar, if they're using radomes, one's scanning in a vertical direction, and it's cut off at 180 degrees. So we're just doing a sky scan, you know, and of course front and back. The other radars, of course, is the horizontal, you know, is 360 degrees.
So we get a better cross section.
Right,
Yeah.
right, and depending on the distance of these objects, you know, the radar will we can pitch the radar. We can look at objects almost 26,000 feet. You know, depending on how the radar is pitched. But the objects being as small as they are, there's nothing that we can pick up beyond 3 to 4 miles.
Sarah?
And some of the
Thank you.
some of the intermittency might be the fact of their shape.
Yeah, that
Maybe
could be.
deflecting some of the radar, maybe because of the curvature of the shape.
Almost like a stealthy shape, and then,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
that
And the fact that it may have several flat planes.
hmm
Do you think any of them had a tetrahedron shape to it? Or double tetrahedron?
Yes, we have seen some that look like 4. We would see 4 impressions of light. So it looked like it might be some tetrahedral shape.
Right, and you could see that they're not quite rectangular scans, depending on how it's rotating. We'll see 2. We'll get a couple of scans that they'll have trapezoidal shapes, almost like, you know, you're catching it on some kind of a corner.
Right.
Yeah.
Sarah, you had a question?
Yeah, and let me know. I'll turn my video off in hopes that my audio works better. Firstly, thank you guys for just sharing this story with us. It's really, really fascinating. And then I just have 3 quick questions. And you don't have to elaborate much, just short answer.
Okay.
And we lost her. Okay, we'll just stand by until she pops back on again here. Talk about intermittent. There she is.
Man, I guess I'm not allowed to ask you the question. Holy moly. So I will rephrase.
And disappear.
And maybe it's our guess.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. Yeah.
Maybe she
Okay.
could text it.
You want to try again, Sarah?
Man, third time's a charm.
Maybe.
Quickly, either of you have military experience shooting, or are you hobby shooters?
I did. It was kind of scrambled.
He's
Yeah,
asking
we need-
if you had any military or, you know, as in professional shooting experience or hobby shooting firearms. I would assume that's where she's going.
we both own
Yes.
rifles.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Second question is, what is your belief system? Religiously.
Well, we've had an interest in this since we were kids, but we went into the sciences, and these days we have more of an more objective, more agnostic approach. You know, except this kind of pushed it more towards the
Right.
believer end.
Yeah, sometimes you look at it and you say, you take a step back and say, wait a minute, you know, let's look at this thing a little bit longer. And, because, you know, first of all, your mind doesn't want to accept certain things that this is not really the reality of it. You know, let's look at it from a different point of view, a different perspective.
And we actually spent a lot of time looking into possible drones. In
Right.
fact, Donna who works with us, is our investigator. She looked into it. We had made a lot of phone calls. I had reached out to people like Chris Mellon and Lou Elizondo, and they weren't aware of any assets out there. We check with the Coast Guard, we check with the police department, there were no drones, then it's illegal to fly drones out there.
Right.
Because it's a federal park.
Yeah, and it's too close to the airports.
Plus the fact it's closed off, after hours, it's closed off, and the only ones allowed there are either somebody with a license to do research, which is us, and we're the only ones doing it, or they have a permit to be a stargazer.
Right.
And astronomy club, Amy.
And I've talked to a friend of mine who's a spectrum officer for the Coast Guard. And he told me, and I'll that off the record, he says, I can tell you it's not the Coast Guard. So whatever,
And the other thing
Whatever
is, as I had worked in the defense industry for at least 30 years, I worked in reconnaissance and surveillance systems. So I'm FLIR systems. I'm familiar with most of the military systems that are out there. And this doesn't look like anything I'm familiar with.
Christy?
Yeah, I was just curious. So what, if anything, or have you guys started thinking about what, if anything, you'll do differently in the future, especially since you had some of these, physical health effects, and, emotionally, I can just imagine what that must have been like in that moment. I know you said that it seemed like, it was a minute, but like it lasted forever. So what are you guys going to do differently next time, if anything? Are you guys developing any kind of procedures as far as how to handle these situations?
Yeah, we're working on changing our protocols and making sure we're equipped with Geiger counters. We had the Geiger counters, but at that time we didn't bring our Geiger counters.
Yeah, we have a number of Geiger counters, portable Geiger counters that could be worn. We have microwave detectors.
We also got portable spectrum analyzers. We'll probably bring out
UVC detectors. And we unfortunately we didn't bring it out. We were in such a hurry to get down there to see what we were, and we should have been better prepared. We had no idea that that we'd have that kind of an encounter.
It went from fascinating to sheer panic.
Sheer panic. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's to this day, it's kind of hard to wrap our heads around it.
Michael had a question.
Yeah, it's John and Gerald.
That's John. I'm Jerry.
Okay, yeah, John and Gerald. After this happened, I've been to Skinwalker Ranch a couple times. After this incident happened, and what Miss Green was saying, did you happen to have anything follow you home, or like some phenomenon happen inside?
Yeah.
Yes,
we've had some interesting experiences.
John mostly because John brings the RV back to his place.
Okay.
And maybe followed the RV, but John's had this what they call a hitchhiker effect.
Right.
Yeah.
And I can actually show you a video. I had gone out there one night and had come home at 2:00 in the morning, and parked the RV in my driveway, and during the night, roughly about an hour and a half later, there was an object recorded on the surveillance system of the RV, which is always operational, and there's 4 cameras at each quadrant of the RV, back, fronts, and left, right sides. They recorded something that shut the street lights down.
Oh.
And the street lights was shut down sequentially, almost like an object was approaching from the north.
Right.
And it shut down one street light. I could see a fraction of a second difference. Then the street light to my left, and then the right, and the one behind shut down. And you could see a very bright blue light reflecting off the some of the steel framework on the RV in the rear camera. And it would go from blue, you'd see an interference pattern, a very detailed interference pattern. And then it would go to white light. And then this object, it stayed for a period of time and then just disappeared. And once it had almost looked like something that was above the RV that was coming down. And once it reached a certain altitude, the street lights recovered. The street lights came back on again. So I thought that was very interesting. And
John's actually got the video, surveillance video.
Let me show you that video. There it is. Okay, so there's no sound with this. This is just full camera view. Let me share it. See if I could get those controls back. Go. Okay, so. Okay, can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so drawing a line up what you're seeing, what each of these quadrants.
So this is a 4-camera view on the RV. These are all night vision cameras, by the way. So on the left here, this is the left side view, the driver's side. On the right here, this is the right side view, the passenger side. The left lower is the rear of the vehicle, and you'll see there's some conduit, there's steel caging around the RV. There's actually just to protect our equipment and so forth. We have a roll cage around it that blocks out the windows and that sort of thing that somebody can't just easily break in. And then on the right lower, you'll see this is the front view with the front camera. And you'll see a pinpoint of light coming through a tree. That's a street light. I don't know if you can see there's a telephone pole next to it. There's a street light. Okay, that's all right. So you got that street light there. If you look at the top right, you'll see there's a street light above the there's a Highlander, an SUV in the driveway. There's a street light there, and on the left lower frame of video there, you'll see the street light is just above the RV. It's on a telephone pole that is just to my left, driver's side, and the street light is literally over the RV. All right, so I'm gonna let it play.
Maybe you should explain which lights you'll start seeing sequentially go out.
Yeah, so we've done frame by frame. So you'll see that the front light goes out first on the right bottom. So the object would look like it might have come from that direction or straight down, but it was forward. It was forward more than it was, toward the back of the RV. It was in the forward direction. So that light shuts down first. Then you'll see the light to the passenger side, the upper right, go off, and then the one right behind the RV. In that sequence, but very, very rapid succession. All right, so the video is playing now, and you'll see an interference pattern as well. Now you'll see there's some flashes of video in the rear. Some changes in the colorimetry. Oh, there it goes. All street lights are out. Now you see the interference pattern.
Now you'll see this growing light, which looks like something descending. And it's actually creating an interference pattern on all the cameras.
On all the cameras, yeah. The one in the back was the worst. And this frequency, if you look at the beat frequency of the interference, these lines are tightening up. So it starts out the camera's frame rate, the sweep speed for the display from left to right is, I believe it's about 32,000 cycles. And each one of these bands is in multiples of that frequency. So it starts out somewhere at about 190 kilohertz, and it expands upward into the megahertz very quickly. I used to repair cameras for a living. Interesting. And a very bright light up there.
It's affecting the street lights, the infrastructure, but you can see some of the home lights are still on.
Yes, the electricity never went out. It was just the photo sensors that are over the street lights were all affected.
Yeah, if you, those photo sensors sit on top of the street light, so whatever had to shut them down would be something that would be hovering, would be above the street lights.
And I believe those photo sensors, they're partly they're near infrared sensitive.
And that's why we'll probably leave the all the other lights around the houses intact.
Now you'll see this, the lights came on, the street lights are back on. And you see the one in the back, this starts to brighten up as these are argon lamps, so they take a while to warm up to full brilliance. And the interesting thing is we had the utility company a month later replacing those sensors. And I asked them about it, and they said that the sensors were damaged.
Okay.
Did this occur before or after the August 27th incident?
This was after.
This was after.
This was after.
Yeah. This was months later.
Months later.
Yeah.
Now the other thing that I noticed is that I'm starting to see, and I never did see them before with the night vision scopes, is I'm starting to see more and more of these objects closer to my home. You know, I didn't notice that before. And the other night there was I counted 15 of these objects that were in stationary locations. Of course, star patterns would change and that sort of thing. These objects would remain there. And they all have this rotational effect. At a distance, they all stay at a distance. I would say, you know, they would look like the one I was able to measure was about 400 meters from my camera.
This is one of the ones you were able to bounce a LiDAR.
I was actually able to bounce the LiDAR off of, and you got a reflection from the object. But now I'm seeing them almost every night over my area.
Is this new, or have you been surveying for a while?
This is new. This is something that I've never seen before. You know, like I said, there are some nights they seem to, if you have a low cloud formation, they seem to stay just under the cloud layers. You know, so I can bounce LiDAR off the clouds. I can get a distance on it. So I know these objects are even lower than that.
No, what would you say the height of the clouds are?
There's sometimes like the clouds are pretty low. They're no more than 200 meters.
Right.
You know,
so these are at least lower than 200
yeah,
meters.
but at that point they seem to always keep their distance though.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like they're lower and they're bigger. I can see them bigger. They always seem to keep their distance further away on the horizon.
And keep in mind, it always keeps the RV parked at his place. So if they want to follow something, there you go.
Right. And there's something else too. And my neighbor, actually, you know, he was witness to it also. Last year, during the summer, I was sitting in a chair talking to my neighbor in my front yard, and the two of us caught a glimpse of something that suddenly appeared on the western horizon. It was clear. It was so clear. It looked like it looked like a, I want to say like a dandelion. It looked like a dandelion with a tail. And and the dandelion had almost like tentacles. And it moved across the sky and suddenly disappeared.
You said the center of it looked like a sphere, right?
It looked like a sphere with, like a dandelion. It was not a dandelion. What I want to say, the weed, those
tumble,
I can't think of it.
Yeah, I can't think of it either.
Yeah, it's around like a sphere, but it had almost like tentacles, away from it, and it had an orange glow to it, and it had something that I wouldn't call a tail, but it was a short, truncated beam of light behind it, and it suddenly disappeared. And my neighbor and I just looked at each other, and before I asked him, I said, "What did you just see?" I wanted him to explain to me. I said, "What did you just see?" Because I saw something. He called it it looked like a daisy. He said, and I said, "Okay, that's very similar to what I saw." It's something, and it was just there briefly. That same night, I was out there, and just at twilight, I saw a 737 Southwest Airlines plane going across the sky from west to east, and I saw two objects follow the Southwest airliner, made a complete loop around, and continued and just disappeared. One after another, two of them did exactly the same thing and disappeared. And that's something I've never seen before. Very, very unusual. Why I'm seeing this stuff now, and maybe it's the connection to what's going on down there. I don't know.
I'm not used to seeing them fly curves.
No,
Yeah,
They're not
bizarre.
aerodynamic,
No, it
Crispy.
completely it looped completely around and followed the airliner and just disappeared. I've been woken up by shadows. I see shadows. They're off. They're not in the. They're off on my peripheral vision. I can see them in my peripheral vision. And I'll look for a source of light that might be causing them, and there's no source of light that can be causing them. But when I turn to look at it, they'll disappear. Those shadows won't be there. I feel like, and again, I'm really very subjective. I feel like I feel like something's in my future. I feel like there's something that I am gonna see something. I've been having very strong feelings about
and I have a mild, vague, kind of a vague connection to these things that this, I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's almost like a door opening or something. I'm not really sure.
Right.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
something like
maybe.
that. Yeah. But it's like that, it's a strong feeling. It's just a feeling that, I'm going to witness something, or I'm going to see something, or whatever.
Okay, team, are there any more questions that we want in this first round? Because I think what we're going to do is we're going to go back and review this video and develop our questions from there, and then come back to you and ask you some more questions, some things that are more pointed. You were asking earlier about lymph glands.
It was more just tender. Like I didn't actually see, I didn't notice the swelling. I looked in the mirror, and I don't think it was just on palpation, on touch,
and swallowing too. I mean, you swallow,
Yeah.
you could feel, it almost like having like strep throat or something. It's and then of course the tenderness under the armpits, that it didn't last very long.
I didn't have the tenderness under the armpits. Mine was just the neck.
In your neck.
John had both areas.
Yeah, both areas.
Yeah.
I'm going through something right now. It's I have a heart murmur, and I had it evaluated, and they're calling it aortic stenosis. So that seems to have, it seems to have been, it's worse these days that they're talking about surgery within the next 3 years to have the valve replaced. it wasn't something that really, I don't want to blame it on the object, but it wasn't something that I complained about, but symptoms now are at a point where, I'm going to have to contend with it, down the road. And I know the symptoms are worse. And a couple of weeks ago, I had to go to the emergency room because my blood pressure, I couldn't control it. It was, I'm hypertensive, so I take blood pressure medication for it. And I'm taking my regular rounds, but that night I had a headache, top of my head, obviously my pressure was up, and I recorded it, overnight, and the pressure just gradually went up, even though I took a second dose of the blood pressure medication, and I was up to 194 over 115 before I had to call an ambulance and make my way to the hospital. They didn't keep me very long. It was I was there for about 5 hours. They got it under control, and they gave me another medication just in case, but they couldn't really understand why it would have went up as high as it did, even under doses of the blood pressure medication.
And hopefully we can help others with this also. It's really important, and I'm really glad you did it.
You're welcome.
And your paper's pretty good too, I gotta say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, it's right. It's in review. Hopefully we hear something soon,
And we did our best. I mean, we tried to cover all sections.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was very thorough, and I mean, I've worked with Teodomani and Strand and all the rest of them. It's as good as anything they put together. It's as good as anything I've seen anywhere.
Massimo loved the paper. We gave him a copy.
Yeah, we had
That's great. That's great.
We talked about a month ago.
Okay, gang. So we're gonna wrap this.
Thank you.
If you have any questions or anything,
You're welcome. Thank you.
if you have any questions, please reach out. I'm
Sure.
sure. And same goes for the team. We're all going to have a conversation about this, I'm sure. So, so with that, thank you very much, and we'll close this meeting.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Have a good night, everybody.
All right. Take care.